But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
The space race was a competitive rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union that took place during the Cold War. It was marked by a series of significant milestones in space exploration. 1955, January, both the United States and the Soviet Union announced plans to launch artificial satellites as part of the International Geophysical Year to study Earth's upper atmosphere. 1957, October 4th, the Soviet Union launches Sputnik 1, the world's first artificial satellite, into orbit. November 3rd, the Soviet Union launches Sputnik 2, carrying the first living creature in space, Laika the dog.
Second punch in a row, Sputnik 2.
1958, January 31st, the United States launches Explorer 1, its first successful satellite, marking the start of the U.S. space program. July 29th, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signs the National Aeronautics and Space Act, establishing NASA short for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. December 6th, the Soviet Union's Luna 1 becomes the first human-made object to reach the moon's vicinity. 1959, September 12th, Luna 2, a Soviet spacecraft, becomes the first human-made object to impact the moon. October 7th, Luna 3 takes the first photographs of the far side of the moon. 1960, May 9th, the United States launches the first weather satellite, Tyros 1. August 19th, the Soviet Union launches the dogs Belka and Strelka aboard Sputnik 5, returning them safely from space. 1961, April 12th, Yuri Gagarin, a Soviet cosmonaut, becomes the first human in space, orbiting Earth aboard Vostok 1. May 5th, Alan Shepard becomes the first American in space, aboard Freedom 7. 1963, March 18th, the Soviet Union launches the first woman in space, Valentina Tereshkova. June 16th, Valentina Tereshkova returns to Earth, completing her mission aboard Vostok 6.
In her 48 orbits around the Earth, Tereshkova tallies more flight time in space than all the Mercury astronauts combined.
1965, March 18th, Soviet cosmonaut Alexei Leonov conducts the first spacewalk during the Voskhod 2 mission. March 23rd, the United States launches the first two-person spacecraft, Gemini 3, with astronauts Gus Grissom and John Young. June 3rd, Ed White, an American astronaut, conducts the first American spacewalk during the Gemini 4 mission. August 11th, the United States launches the Mariner 4 spacecraft, which conducts the first successful flyby of Mars. 1966, February 3rd, the Soviet Union's Luna 9 becomes the first spacecraft to land on the moon and transmit images. July 21st, the United States launches the first successful Saturn IB rocket with the Apollo 1 spacecraft, but a cabin fire kills the crew during a pre-launch test. 1967, October 27th, the United States launches its first successful Saturn V rocket, carrying the unmanned Apollo 4 spacecraft. 1968, December 21st, Apollo 8 becomes the first crewed mission to orbit the moon, circling it 10 times before returning to Earth. 1969, July 16th, Apollo 11 launches, carrying astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins to the moon.
1, 0, all engine running.
July 20th, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin become the first humans to walk on the moon.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
July 24th, Apollo 11 returns safely to Earth. The space race continued beyond this timeline with further Apollo missions, space station development, and international cooperation in space exploration. The United States Apollo program ultimately achieved the goal of landing humans on the moon in 1969, effectively concluding the race to the moon.